All right, welcome back, everybody. Up next, we have Patyk Klatka and Tomazz Zelawski. I hope I didn't butcher that. They're both software engineers at Software Mansion, specializing in React Native and very active members of the open source community. And they will be presenting conquering platforms with React Native.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope you can hear me. Yeah, great. Yeah, so hello. Good morning, everyone. We are Software Mansion, and my name is Patyk. I'm engineer at Software Mansion. And with Tomazz, who is also engineer at Software Mansion, we're going to talk about React Native. Oh, sorry. We're going to talk about what are the differences between other solutions. We're also going to cover what platforms are supported in React Native. And lastly, we're going to talk about how open source works in React Native community. With us, there's also Michał Czenek, so if you will have any business inquiries, you can go and talk to him. I would like to briefly introduce our company. So Software Mansion is a software agency based in Krakow in Poland, with over 300 people on board. Our clients are mostly from USA, Israel, Europe, and China. Software Mansion specializes in video streaming protocols. We have several frameworks for Elixir. We are also React Native core contributors. Our libraries are being used by almost all React Native developers. We are also blockchain contributors. We contribute, for example, to Starkware. We are also providing some expertise in product design, and we are also community builders. We organize conferences about React Native, such as App.js, and we are also AI explorers. We are trying to play with it and see if we can do something cool with it. And now Tomek will answer to the question why React Native.
All right, hi there. Nowadays it's all about cross-platform frameworks. Nobody wants to have separate code bases for all the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 platforms. Depends on how many you want, how much of the market you want to hit. So one of them is React Native, and you've also seen a bunch of platforms today or yesterday, frameworks for cross-platform development. And I want to tell you why it's worthwhile to take a look at React Native and actually use it, choose it, and enjoy it. So we'll go over some reasons, starting with the numbers. So here's some chart that gives you an overview of the market share of different frameworks for cross-platform development. And you can see here that React Native is in second place with roughly 35% of the market. If you pay close attention, Flutter is first. So you might ask, why wouldn't I use Flutter? I mean, why is Flutter first to begin with? And I think it's just good to have competition. You can get better because of that. So those were the numbers. That was really simple. I mean, you don't really care about the market share if you want to have a nice developer experience. So then we'll go to the language, which I think is a very crucial factor here. You can just skip those cross-platform frameworks. You can go with native development. You can just have Android with Java code base, and you can have Objective-C on iOS. Little asterisk here. Objective-C, in my opinion, is just atrocious. I've done several lines of code in Objective-C, made some pull requests and so on, and I don't really like it. I don't understand it. So, and you might think it's enough. I know Java, I know Objective-C, the world's pretty, but it's the future. We're going forward. So for Android, it would be also nice to learn Kotlin. Kotlin is basically Java, but still it's another bit to learn. For Objective-C, you have to learn Swift. Swift is, different from Objective-C. It's actually, let's say, more normal, but more things to learn. And you might know these languages, these technologies, but it's still not enough to build an app, because to build an app, you have build steps. So for Android, you need Gradle. For iOS, you need Ruby because it uses CocoaBots. So that's a lot of things you have to learn. Either you have one developer who knows it all, or you have many developers who just know bits of this. So native development, native development, it's not really an option. Well, you might use some other framework, you know? You might just go for Flutter. And Flutter is all right, but if you've never used it, there's a problem, because Flutter uses Dart. And Dart is a language specifically tailored for Flutter. So if you've never used Flutter, you've never used Dart, which means another thing to learn because before you start developing your app. So then you might think, all right, I want a framework which has some more general purpose language as a base, a language I probably know or I will use in the future for like other projects. So you might choose Diaxis. And Diaxis is great. It's actually React-like in its syntax. But the problem persists because Diaxis uses Rust. And Rust is anything but not easy to learn. You know, there's this steep learning curve, all the ownership and then memory stuff, and you might not really care about this if you're just an app developer. And that's where React Native shines, because React Native uses JavaScript. And there's one thing about JavaScript that is beautiful, I think, that it's easy to learn JavaScript, you know? The web speaks JavaScript. It's everywhere. And if the web speaks JavaScript, the world speaks JavaScript. If you are a developer with just a tiny amount of experience, you have probably touched web development. And that means you know a little bit of JavaScript. So you have this step already behind you. You can start developing React Native. So that really boosts you into like focusing on your business logic, getting things in your app done well. You don't have to, you know, just go over all the tutorials for Dart, for Rust, or even learning like this Objective-C things and stuff. And you might ask, isn't JavaScript a poor choice for an app framework? You know, JavaScript is like, let's say, infamous for being slow. And the answer to that question is no. Every time in React Native, when JavaScript is accused of slowing your app down, you know, like, why don't you use some other language? It's like, it's a bad choice. Every time it turns out that just the user code is bad. React Native uses React, so most of the time it's like the React written under the hood by the developer is just bad, you know? It would work bad in the browser, so that's why it works bad in an app. And, you know, JavaScript is not saint. It has some problems, and there are actually things that are a bit slow in JavaScript in common engines like V8 or JSC, and this is where React Native, you know, React Native doesn't let you down, because in React Native we have Hermes. Hermes is a JavaScript engine specifically tailored for React Native. So every time there's a problem in JavaScript, Hermes tries to overcome this problem. So we got the language, we got the numbers, so let's talk a bit about the platforms. Why is it good to use React Native because of its platforms?
Yeah, so maybe a little bit of history. So React Native initially supported only iOS and Android app. I mean, the React Native was created to solve the problem of maintaining 3 different repositories for one app. Before React Native, you have to maintain the repository for web application, for iOS application, and for an Android application, and this wasn't convenient. And like when React Native was going well, I was working for Meta projects, and some more companies have started to see potential this framework, especially Microsoft. Around 2020, 2021, React Native and Microsoft have cooperated, and they have successfully run React Native on Windows. Yeah, and this year was like the breakthrough year, and everything, and the React Native started to work on supporting more platforms. And currently, we have had support for over 6 new platforms. Let's see the major ones. So, of course, we have a support for iOS and Android. We, of course, have a support for React Native Web. We also support TV operating systems such as tvOS and Android TV. We also support desktop operating systems such as Windows, macOS. We also recently added support for visionOS. visionOS is an operating system for Apple's VR headset. And also we support Linux, but it uses Skia engine, so it doesn't use native APIs. Yeah, we know on what platforms can React Native run, so I will just show you some examples where we can see React Native on other platforms. Of course, we have a number of apps which have been ported to other platforms. Personally, I use Microsoft Messenger and Teams app on everyday use, so on my Mac. So yeah, you can probably also use React Native on other applications. Another, like, maybe weird or just not so common example of using React Native is brownfield integration. This is the example of integrating React Native in Word application. Microsoft has written accessibility assistant in React Native. Why, you may ask? It's because they wanted to have the similar UI experience across platforms. So, because they have also, they maintain the Word applications also for macOS. So yeah, that was, I think, the wise choice. And yeah, another, like, maybe shocking example is that React Native, actually the recommended panel in the Windows 11 is written in React Native. Yeah, they decided to do that. So I don't know the specific reason why they did that, but yeah. And yeah, the last, maybe platform where you can find React Native is OpenHarmony. So SoftwareMation and UI have been recently working on porting React Native to OpenHarmony. But not only that, we've been also helping in understanding how React Native works, and also some providing tips how to improve the UI framework. Yeah, so I will just briefly talk about how we did that, how we integrated React Native with OpenHarmony. So currently you see very basic architecture of React Native. I've just only added the components which are needed for rendering. So long story short, we have a React code, which is JavaScript code, which is then bundled by Metro, then sent to the JavaScript virtual machine, which is Hermes in our case. Then JavaScript virtual machine communicates with Fabric, with React common code, because before Fabric, it also communicates with JSI, which is a JavaScript interface. It's just the interface which allows you to seamlessly contact the C++ side with JavaScript side and vice versa. And JSI communicates with Fabric, which is the renderer. Fabric also communicates with Yoga, which is the layout engine to. And then, the React common code communicates with native APIs. And so maybe now I will talk about how actually React Native OpenHarmony, what React Native OpenHarmony gets as an input. So basically, React Native works like that we have a tree of components, and we just have a mutation of that tree, right? And for example, when you change the color, we just have a mutation that we need to update certain node. And yeah, that's the whole story. This is the example log we have on our site on RNOH. So we just get those updates, the list of the updates, and we just apply them. And how exactly RNOH communicates with OpenHarmony, with RQI? We actually use a C++ API to create views. Previously, we were using ArcTS APIs to create views, but we found out that using C APIs is just much faster. And this example actually translates to this very small square, red square. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so now I will talk about what actually currently you can do with React Native Open Harmony. So we have you can use React Native Open Harmony for brownfield integration. I mean, this was necessary. It was like obtained for free because you know, the entry point of every Open Harmony app lives in the ArcTS. So yeah, we had to create ArcTS components for that. There we have also easy setup for existing React Native apps. I mean, the list is maybe big, but it doesn't require any specific React Native knowledge for now. So I guess it's quite easy to set up the existing projects to support Open Harmony. We have also support for most React Native APIs. Recently, we did small Excel table where we compared platforms, and so that most of the APIs which are necessary to build apps are supported. Yeah, the table is you know, bigger, but I couldn't fit all the details on the presentation. Yeah, and we already have almost 400 libraries ported to React Native Open Harmony, thanks to Huawei team who did a great work. We have almost this kind of number of libraries. Yeah, software mentioned also helped porting React Native libraries, but we mostly focused on our solutions such as React Native Reanimated, which is the library for animations, and React Native Gesture Handler, which is handling gestures. Yeah, and currently React Native Open Harmony is used by over 300 Huawei partners. Yeah, now I'd like to talk about some limitations of React Native Open Harmony. Currently we struggle with poor documentation, but don't worry, we'll be working on that before the release. So we also primarily focus on Harmony OS. I mean, the Harmony OS is based on Open Harmony, and it should be working fine on other operating systems based on Open Harmony, but it's worth checking that out. So yeah, and we are also using updated React Native version, but we are just planning to also bump the version of React Native. Yeah, and I've covered some points from that slide, but yeah, I will repeat them again. So we are working on improving developer experience. So as I said, writing better documentation and maybe supporting more CLI commands. We are also like refactoring code base, enhancing performance, bumping React Native version. Also, we are preparing for open source release, which we are expecting to be soon. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So we got the platforms covered, and now let's move on to the community, which personally is really my favorite part of React Native, because all those platforms you've seen, React Native macOS, React Native Windows, React Native tvOS, React Native Web, those platforms, those libraries that provide support for them, they are not made by Meta. They are not maintained by Meta. It's all done by the community. It's all coming from the contributors of the community. And I wanted to give you a little backstory about how Software Mention became a staple member of the React Native community. So if we go back in the time, 6 years, Software Mention was a relatively small company. We were like, you know, just a tiny droplet in the world of React Native. And a colleague of ours, Krzysztof Magiera, a co-founder of Software Mention, he found that gesture handling in React Native could use a bit of polish, you know. He really wanted that native feeling of gestures, so he created the library React Native Gesture Handler, which turned out to be great success. Nowadays, in all the advanced apps, everybody uses it. And you know, Krzysztof is a guy who, when he sees a problem, he tries to solve it. So next year he found that animations in React Native can be a bit janky. So he created a library, React Native Reanimated, which virtually followed the same pattern like Gesture Handler. Nowadays everybody uses it, and well, really it has no competition in terms of animation libraries. And you know, a year later, Krzysztof, you know, took a look at navigation in React Native, and he said, you know, we could make use of a better animation. So he made a library for navigation primitives, which is used under the hood by most navigation libraries now. And those tiny little steps brought us where we are here in 2024. We have more libraries now, React Native Freeze, which handles some React optimizations in React Native, React Native SVG, which handles vector graphics for you. But we aren't limited to the libraries. A couple of years now, we do State of React Native, which is an annual survey about the general developer experience in React Native. What's good, what's bad, what's annoying, what do you want in the future in React Native, and what do you want removed. And our latest product, which is really craved by the community, I'd say, is Raiden IDE. It's an extension to your code editor, a plugin, which allows you to build, develop, debug, hot reload, literally anything you do with your app, and it keeps all of these steps in your code editor, so you don't have to jump between Android Studio and Xcode. It's all in one place, and it's really great. It changes the experience dramatically, and now we have the status of the official partner of Meta, the core contributor, and so on. And well, does it mean anything? What does it mean for us? So to give you a story from my side, some time ago I was working in Reanimated on some task, and I found out that a CPP side has problems in compilation in regards to debug and in-debug macro. It was a bit messy, and I wanted to get it cleaned up. So I contacted a Meta employee, Ricardo, and asked him if he could lend me a hand there, because the code was there was quite complex. And he said, no problem. He gave me some guidance. So the next day, I think, I opened a pull request. He reviewed it. If you pay close attention, the pull request was automatically labeled with partner software mention, so it got this special attention. The same day, Ricardo told me how to fix the failing tests, and the next day, the pull request was already merged. So it was this great experience of high velocity development, that something's a pain, and the next day or 2 days later, you have it fixed. And it's not limited to partners only, You can, if you're not coming from a company like Software Mention, you don't have this partner status and so on, you can still make a difference in React Native. You can take a part in its community. Just to give you a recent example, 2 weeks ago, an issue was raised with a serious accusation that basic control text editing is broken in React Native. And that there are many bugs in React Native, but what the community does, and what's the how the Meta treats the community, they don't just sweep it under the rug like it's another bug, we'll get it fixed and in a year, in 2 years, or maybe. What they did is 6 days later they released a patch for it, which is coming to the next main version of React Native. Probably will be ported to previous versions. So you don't have to come from a big company to make a difference. And I really want to stress that out, that in React Native community, everybody is welcome. We have this huge stress on the community aspect, that Meta doesn't want to do everything themselves. They have this great contributing guide on their documentation, which gives you really details, instructions on how to contribute to different parts of React Native, because contributing to React Native it's not only writing the code to handle the views or the navigation or the gestures and so on. It's like it's like maintaining the whole ecosystem. You can help them maintain the repository, write some automated tests, help with the issues, triage the issues, There are even detailed information about how to release React Native, so you can help with the release, or if you have, for some reason, the need to release your own React Native version, like just for your own use, you can like release React Native 1.0, because we don't have 1.0 yet, if you didn't know. You can do that, and I think that's amazing. Like everybody appreciates that. So we are Software Mention. If you want to dive into the world of React Native, if you have some project, just feel free to contact us. If you are doing something else, you can contact us too, because nowadays we do a lot of things, like with the with the membrane, video streaming stuff, the AI stuff. You can ask questions now, or you can catch us in the corridor, and thank you for your time and your attention.